Clifford started a post basically saying that he could not find the snapshots that he was taking. We had some discussions back and forth, and what he's asking now are two different questions. One, when he does take a snapshot, why does he get this create a proxy file for the snapshot? And the second question is, why does it take a full 60 seconds for the snapshot to appear in the media panel after he clicks the snapshot button? To answer these two questions, we need to look at two different sets of settings within Filmora. To answer the question, why does the create proxy pop-up window occur when you're importing media, we need to look at File, Preferences, Performance. The proxy file parameters specify the maximum resolution of either a video or a photo before a proxy file is created. The switch determines whether you should automatically create a proxy file if that occurs, or whether you should not. So there are basically three ways that something can happen, and only one of these three ways will cause the create proxy file pop-up window to occur. If you're importing something that's at this resolution or less, then no pop-up will occur. If you have the automatically create proxy files and you import something greater than this resolution, there will be no pop-up either, because it's just automatically going to create it for you. However, if you turn this off and you import something that exceeds either this resolution or this resolution, then you will get this create proxy file. So why did Clifford get this when he was taking a snapshot? That's going to be the second part of this discussion. Okay, let's start by importing a file. And I'm going to take one that's small, but still a 4K file. And we'll open it. And you see that I got the message create proxy file. These are the preferences. The resolution of the file that I'm bringing in is greater than the parameters set in the performance preferences. I'm not going to create the proxy file here at this time because it doesn't really matter for part two of this discussion. What we're looking at now is why the snapshots take a long time to appear in the media panel. Let's review the project settings, because this is what affects the length of time that it takes to create a snapshot. And the default settings when you turn on Filmora is something like this. It's a 2K 1920 by 1080 and 30 frames per second. Now the media that I've imported happens to be a 29.97 seconds. So I'm just going to adjust that to that setting. And let's drag this down to the timeline. And before I do that, let me just look at the properties of this particular video clip. If we right-click on it up in the media panel, we get this properties thing here. And we can see that indeed this is a 4K clip, 38 by 2160, and that it's 29.97 seconds. So that means when we drop it in on our project, we should expect to see this pop-up window come in. Do you want to match the media, or do you want to match the project settings? We're going to go ahead and match the project settings. Okay, so now we are on the project, and if we create a snapshot, and let's go ahead and switch. I added an extra folder here. I'll just call it snapshots, just so differentiate it from all the other files that are being created here while I make this video. If we click the snapshot button, and I'm going to do it twice, and then we're going to compare the length of time it took to create them. So when I click this, a little red circle would appear around it, and next thing we'll see is the snapshot will appear up here. And there was our snapshot, snapshot number 3. Okay. Now, just like the file before, we can examine the properties of this by going down here and looking at the properties. And we can see that our snapshot is a 1920 by 1080. Now, if we change our project settings up to something that matches the actual video, and in fact, let's do it this way. Let's take this off and let's put it again down to the timeline. And this time we're going to match the media. The first time we matched the project settings. When we match the media, then whatever this clip is, it's going to affect the entire timeline. The project settings themselves are going to be changed. And we can see that right over here. If we don't have anything selected on the timeline, we can see that the new project settings are the 4K. And just to show you that it's exactly the same, we can open up project settings, and yes, we see that it's been changed to 4K. Okay, now what we want to do here is we want to take a snapshot of the first frame here. And let me go back into our snapshot folder, and we should get snapshot number 4. And we'll go ahead and click this. And we noticed that there was a significant lag between this and that. And in just a second, I'll show you exactly how big the difference is. But let's take a look at the properties of this particular photo. This photo is 3840 by 2160. Now, guess what here? Let's go into project settings, and let's change the project resolution to 4K, or it's greater than 4K actually. And let's try it again. Again, we have our snapshot, and we have now a even greater resolution than number 2. We can see number 2 is this. So the question then was, tying in the first part of Clifford's question was, why did he get that create a proxy file when he was making a snapshot? And for that, we will go back into the preferences, and we will go over to performance, and then we'll scroll down, and we'll change this setting here to 1920. In other words, the 2K, and we will apply that. Now let's take another shot. And you'll notice two things here. Well, you'll notice one thing. The create proxy file came up. And that is because the preferences were set for the images to be less than 4K. That is why that came up. So we will say create proxy file. We'll go ahead and say no in this case. And we will look at the properties of this. And in fact, it stays the 409621. So what affects the length of, or the length of time that it takes to create the snapshot has to do with the resolution of the snapshot. Yeah, I think we've answered the two questions, but I'm just going to summarize here with the first two snapshots that we took up here in the snapshot folder, number 3 and number 4. The first one was a low resolution 2K photo, and if we hover over that one, we will see that Here, let me make it a little bit larger. We'll see that it took 1 second, 4 frames to generate it. And what I used was the red circle that went around, and then shift end. And this is the end of where it appeared. And so what I did was I took it when it appeared up here. Actually, I took it here. It should have been maybe 1 more frame. But anyway, right here. So that measures the distance. Let's compare that with the higher resolution shot. And for that, we'll go to the next marker that I put on here. And here we can see, again, here is the red dot. It appears. And the frame before, there's no dot. So this is when I click the button. And then we'll go shift end. And we'll go to where this appears. And if I go back 1, you see this is where it's starting to appear, and this is where it's fully rendered. Okay, so the time here is 3 seconds and 17 frames. So it's double, more than double the time, or I should say it's triple the time between this and this. Now that doesn't explain why Clifford's took over 60 seconds to generate up here. And for that, I would say that lies in the hardware. You really have to look at the hardware. You have to look at what's running in the background, what's being occupied, what's occupying the GPU, the CPU, the memory. The fact that he said it was longer in his standby computer, which had lesser hardware. It had an i5 CPU. It had a spinning hard drive that drives slower in writing stuff. In this situation, you're creating a file on the fly. That's what the snapshot is. And you have to write it to the hard drive. So an SSD, solid state drive, will write faster than an HDD or standard hard drive where the drive is spinning. So that definitely contributes to the length of the creation. Memory, perhaps, perhaps not, depending on how much stuff is in memory, how much is on the project line, what else is loaded up in the back of the memory. But definitely these are the bottlenecks: CPU, GPU, and then your hard drive when you're creating a snapshot. Could be even worse if you attach an external hard drive that where you have the bus where the data has to pass through the USB connection in order to get onto that external drive. That could take even longer. So I would look for that. But the explanation for the pop-up of the create proxy file has to do with the fact that the option is not turned on in the performance. Let's just recap it here. The preferences performance. If this is turned off, then the pop-up box will come when you exceed this or you exceed that. Now, this is normally set at 4096, which is a 4K photo. And if that's the case, then you're probably not going to exceed it. It's not going to affect it when you make a snapshot. But if you have this turned off and you exceeded whatever the value in here was, then you're going to get that pop-up create proxy file when you do a snapshot. That's the reason for that. So we've covered that. We've covered the length of creating a snapshot based on the hardware, based on the resolution of the snapshot. Those are the things to keep in mind. This is an extra long video to explain 2 simple concepts, but here you go.